بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في صوت؟ Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Good evening, Doctor. Yes,
Yeah,
we
good
can hear you.
evening, Miss Mice. Okay. Loud and clear,
Yes,
everyone.
Doctor,
Huh?
great.
ممتاز. رمضان كريم عليكم.
Welcome.
Now we're going to wait for perhaps 5 more minutes for people to join. If you have access to groups, I mean the groups that we all have and share, if you can alert them. You know, it's Ramadan, people are overwhelmed with lots of things, but they need a reminder or two. If you can help us with that. We have a couple of sessions today. One geared towards the students, which is the second one, and the first one is by myself, and it's going to be the second workshop on TEFL from common sense to nuance. We started last time, and we're continuing these efforts, inshallah, for perhaps 4 more sessions after this one. I don't know. I think my voice is not loud enough. It's a long day, I know, for me and for you, of course. So if you think my voice is not loud enough, please let me know. Huh? Is it loud enough?
Yeah, no, yes. No, it's okay. Going okay, thank you.
So I was saying that we have 2 sessions tonight. A session from 11 up to perhaps 1 a.m. And the second one is from 1 a.m. and it's a session geared towards, you know, teaching students how to harness the power of AI and make it work for them away from plagiarism and text appropriation and all those bad things. I'm hopeful I mean, your students and you yourselves can attend, and you're going to find the experience very rewarding. I know Dr. Hassan, and I'm sure he's going to do an excellent job. Okay, طيب يلا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Let's get started. Okay, so let me share my slides and we are on our way, inshallah. So again, this is our second session. It's a series of workshops, and the title is TEFL from Common Sense to Nuance. And this is me, Dr. Sami Abdel Jalil. So we have kind of rephrased it, I mean, given what we have spoken about. And we said that by common sense, we meant talking the talk, while by nuance, we meant walking the walk. Obviously, walking the walk is more advanced than just talking the talk, right? So this is what we've been, it's a trajectory that will obviously take time. It's a journey. And again, it's not about the destination as much as it is about the process. Whatever happens on the journey, the things that we acquire and learn together. I'm not assuming that I know more than you guys do. We only share, experiences and best practices. This is a disclaimer that I have to kind of put. Okay. So again, we're talking about the world of ELT, and of course, we all know what ELT stands for. So it's English language teaching, and it's a whole world that has different aspects and facets. Perhaps we spoke about them very briefly last time. That's why I planned for them to be expanded on as of today. And it would be overwhelming for us to talk about every single one of them. But I have chosen to talk about ELT issues. And they are, mashallah, so many, and they are going to also take some time. So this is the world that we are all engaged in, being ELT professionals. It's language skills. I think some. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let me just ask a question. I normally have this alert if somebody wants to walk into the room. For some reason, I'm keeping it open for everyone, but for some reason, I receive like an alert. Do you receive the self same alert when somebody walks into the room?
Yes, we do.
And yeah, can
Yes.
can somebody press now? Do you have the facility?
I did, doctor.
Yeah, which worked, right?
It
Dalal, are
works,
you
yes.
here? Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, I don't want to leave the slide and come back, and this can be very disruptive, right? So whenever you receive this alert, don't wait for me to kind of press it or something. Okay, طيب, yeah, let's go back. Sorry for that. This was a point of order that we needed to. Again, I'm talking about the world of ELT, and I said it's a huge terrain. That's why it would be very overwhelming to cover it in one single session. That's why I decided to kind of cover it on over the space of the sessions that we have together. And I have chosen to start with the issues, the ELT issues. And like I said, they are so many. And we spoke about them very briefly. Tonight, I intend to address them perhaps in a more profound way. And and it's not going to be about me talking all the time or perhaps giving more input that you, because you guys are in the field and you feel those issues and you deal with them on a regular basis, on a daily basis. So these are the issues, or these are what I perceive as the issues, because obviously, other people have other issues and more issues. So I would like you to look at them, look at these issues. I mean, the word issue would be, can evoke negativity, which is not true. We're talking about, philosophical underpinnings under which teaching practice happens. So there is no right or wrong when it comes to, dealing with them, talking about them. These are different approaches, different ways of thinking about the act of teaching. So as you can see, English as a global or international language, teacher talking time, teaching English as a content or as a subject, teaching grammar, whether people should teach grammar in the first place. Should people teach grammar inductively or deductively? And we'll talk about the difference in a minute. Teaching online, this is obviously the new normal. Teaching the book or the textbook. You have people who are all for it, and you also have detractors who say no, we should develop our own material, and we'll talk about that debate. And then the language acquisition debate, it has always been there. And using first language or L1, this is something that we spoke about last time, but we're likely to kind of mull over and talk more about. So these are the issues. Of course, there are other issues, and you know, ELT is an ever-evolving field, and every day, you know, groups and communities come with their own issues, and they are added to this menu of issues that we have. Again, it's a huge terrain, but we're going to talk, we're going to make it kind of short and sweet. We're not going to spend the rest of our lives talking about those issues, because it's not about talking about them as much as it is about being aware of their existence and dealing with them, thinking of sometimes prioritizing things and stuff like that. So these are the issues again, and this is the order that I'm going to use to, you know, while discussing them. I'm going to start with, obviously, number one is the language acquisition debate. So what do I mean by the language acquisition debate, and what is this debate all about? So what do they mean when, or what do we mean when we say that there is a debate on language acquisition when it comes to teaching students? What do you think? So obviously this is the first issue. So the language acquisition debate. So language acquisition.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, Maisa, go ahead.
The language acquisition debate is about the different theories on how human being acquires the language, ranging from the Chomsky's theory, the behaviorist theory, the interactionist theory, social cognitive theories. Yes, like these theories.
Yeah, it's yeah, but it has a core, and at the core of this debate is whether I mean, second language acquisition. I mean, yani, I'm talking about for our present purposes as teachers. The whole lot is about whether our students learn the language the way, or the second language, or the foreign language, the way they learn their first language or not. So this is the debate that we're talking about. This is the whole debate. And I want you to tell me whether you think um, this is true. Our students who are perhaps 15 or above, 16 and 17, and perhaps in one of the classes you would have somebody who is 40 and 50. Do we learn our second language the way we learned or acquired our first language? This is what the whole debate is about. And I'm asking you, for the sake of argument, I know we are all agreed on something, but I'm not going to repeat it. To come to the mic and share this with them. Again, you have the second language or the foreign language, and you have the first or the native language. Are they similar? I mean, the way we acquired them, or are this way of acquiring and learning two different things?
Really, I am for that learning second
No, it's not about,
language.
you know, Doctor. Yeah, you're not listening to me, Dr. Muhammad.
Sorry?
I'm not seeking your approval. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm saying the debate has always been there, and you have people who believe that, yeah, it's. I mean, the two processes are the same, and you have people who say that no, they are totally different. So, where do you stand?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes,
Let me finish with, yeah, let me finish with Dr. Muhammad and then come back to you. Yeah.
Okay. So according to me, as far as I'm concerned, you mean
Yeah.
my
Okay.
opinion?
What do you think?
Yes, I think yes, I am. Really, I am for the theory that goes to prove that students learn second language as they learn their native language, first language. So start by listening. Just it makes learning language more easily and automatically. And then just listening, exposure to language first. I prefer this without
Again,
rules.
you're perhaps I'm not clear enough. I'm not
Okay.
talking about best practices here. I'm talking
Oh,
about
okay.
okay. So,
Mm.
okay, we'll come back to you, Dr. Muhammad.
Okay,
Somebody
thank you.
was saying something.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello,
Yeah, hi.
good
Can
evening.
you identify yourself?
Alina. I'm Alina. I
Alina,
think I
hi.
wrote, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think language acquisition and language learning are two different things because language learning requires some systematic way of teaching a new language. But language acquisition is picking up the language from the environment. And I guess this is the theory of Krashen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which of them would you associate with kids, children, small children, and which of them would you associate with people like me and you, students in classes?
well, children would use both of them. Like they start with acquiring their first language and second language in the same time, and it will be easier
But
for them to acquire.
they are tilted towards which of them they lean more for? Is it
Depends
uh
about the age. It depends about
yeah,
the age
we're
also.
talking about very small kids. How do they learn the
Very
language
small,
or acquire the language? And then obviously
they
there is a
acquire
difference
the language.
between acquire, not learn the language,
They
right?
acquire
So
the second
you
language.
don't use
Yes,
intervention approaches with them, like teaching them how to speak, how to listen, how you
they,
don't teach them
they
grammar,
acquire.
right?
No,
Hmm.
they acquire. We cannot say learn because
Hmm.
learning is totally different.
So
So
you associate learning with school students, with
thematic.
people like us. It's systematic. It's intervention based, right? Intervention by
Yes,
intervention, of course, I
based
mean
on
that you teach stuff. You have a curriculum, you
someone
have a
teaching.
syllabus, you have material. You're very intentional about what you do in class. This is what I mean by
Exactly,
interventions,
exactly,
approaches of teaching. Okay,
exactly. So
thank you, Alina.
th-
Let's move to somebody else, perhaps give us more insights into that. Okay, so what did we establish? Did we establish the fact that they are two different things or they are one and the same? Again, we're talking about the debate around language acquisition, first language acquisition, which by first language acquisition, we mean the native tongue, and second language acquisition. What did we come out with now out of this argument? Two different things, right? So when we talk about the first,
they involve similar
I'm
stages, let's
yes,
say.
but I'm talking about starting points. When I
They
talk
have
about first,
different roots.
okay, I wouldn't call it rules when it comes to the native language. Okay, because we're talking about acquiring, not learning. Remember? With second or foreign language, I mean, it's learning that we're having, not acquiring, because you're beyond the stage of acquiring for the most part.
Yes,
Mm,
doctor. And
mm,
let's remember that Chomsky assumed the existence of LAD, the language
mm.
acquisition device, which vanishes when the boy is 13 or 14 years old. So this can make the difference clear between acquiring and learning, perhaps.
Which means that you're proving my point, right?
I do, yes.
Okay. Right. So this it's a whole debate, and it's fomenting, and people speak about it as we speak, even, right? And the discussion and the controversy never ends. But one thing is clear: the fact that the processes involved are too are different, obviously, right? Okay. So what is, or what are the classroom implication of that? Where do we, is this the privilege of the well-fed, like they say, people who are speculating, they are out of touch with reality, theorists that they don't really teach? Do you think these things are too abstract for practitioners, teachers who work in class and have other issues to grapple with? What do you think? Do you think talking about it now is sheer waste of time? Hmm. Okay, let's leave it there and move somewhere else. Okay, what's the second issue? Teaching English as a subject, whatever that means. Are you familiar with something called CLIL, or CLIL, Content and Language Integrated Learning? Yeah, Mariha, go ahead.
I'm sorry you talked about CLIL, but before when you said that teaching English as a subject, I thought maybe we are talking about the grammar translation method, because in that we take it as a subject and
Yeah, and I'm talking
mostly,
about, I was clarifying it by talking about the opposite, or the other approach, which
yeah,
is client. So let's focus
yeah.
on teaching English as a subject, whatever that means, Maliha.
Uh, for me, if we take it as a subject, then we
Mm,
just talk about the rules. We talk about
mm-hmm,
developing its skills, and
mm.
mostly
You
when we talk, yeah. So we mostly
you mean you're
concentrate on
talking
this
about it's a
rules.
subject, it's a subject among subjects, right? So
Yeah.
you have a timetable, a classroom timetable. You have
Yes.
English in the first or the second period. You have science in the
Yes.
third. You have math, which makes it a
Yes.
subject among many, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us about that. I assume that you also work in a school in the morning, right?
No, no, I don't. I have
Okay.
always been a university teacher.
طيب
So I've
ممتاز.
never taught in
Yeah.
schools, but
Mm.
okay, doctor, what I understand probably by this is like, are you talking about the collaborative learning? Because
No.
when we have
No.
English and we teach, okay, probably
Yeah.
maths in English,
Yeah.
science in English.
No, this is CLIL. This is
Okay, this is clear. Yeah, yeah,
CLIL.
yeah.
Yes. Right?
Exactly. When we, yeah, use English to teach other subjects as well. And in
Mhm.
this way, students learn other subjects and English,
And English,
side by
yes.
side.
Yes.
And they,
What do we
it,
do?
improves their
Yes. What do we do at the Arab Open University? Is English
um,
is taught as a subject or part of this CLIL or CLIL approach? I'm asking everyone.
Um, I think it's a bit of a mix of it, because mostly universities, we try to
No, I'm
improve the
talking about
academic
what you
English.
teach. You've been with us for the past 2 months or so, right?
Yes, yes, I'm
So,
teaching this, yeah,
okay,
EL
nice.
triple one and 112.
Is it a subject, or you teach computers through English, or you teach database, or you teach the
No, no, no,
courses
no,
that we have? Yeah,
no, no.
you teach English, right? And you
English,
have a
yes.
course book, right? That
Yes, I have a course
that
book.
has
Yes,
grammar and
exactly.
phonology,
Yes,
okay? Which
reading,
means that we're
yes,
teaching
writing.
it as a subject. My
Yes.
other question to everybody else: would you have wanted or liked it to be CLIL, where you're teaching perhaps computers, but in English, so people learn the language and they also learn or have knowledge of the subject? What do you think is better? I'm asking everyone here.
I think integrating language and content together. So we learn language, I think, as a means to facilitate our studies for other things, and that's exactly what I think. What's the case of English nowadays? You'll find that a lot of interest in teaching English for adults, for example, and for as a basics for first year, prep year, or what foundation year, whatever it is called. Now that's the case of most of English teachers, I think, or English specialization. So English as a means for studying computer, for studying medicine, things like this.
Okay, but as it stands, we're not doing that at the Arab Open University. We're teaching English as a subject, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's part, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yes,
and
doctor.
actually, we have a subfield in ELT that, I mean, together with Clyle, and I think it's even kind of older than Clyle, which is the idea of ESP, English for specific purposes, English for special purposes, English for academic purposes, provided that we do have English for academic purposes, ideally, right? But I don't see that we have, you know, computer inside because we have a computer department, or it has business items inside because we have a business college inside. Okay, let me ask you again, which do you prefer, to have Clyle, where you have this integration between content, and can be computer, it can be business, and the language as well. Would you think this is a better way of teaching students English?
Yes, doctor. I think teaching English as a content and a subject at the same time is an effective way to enhance both
No,
subject
no.
there.
Let's make this
Yeah.
distinction. Let's make this as
a
subject.
content?
It means that yes, which means
As a
that the
content,
content
yes, I think
can be, the subject matter can be computer, can be medicine, right? Can be
that's right.
science,
Yes.
and you teach that in English, so people learn the language, develop the language, and at the same time, they have the knowledge of the
They
subject.
enhance the subject learning matter.
Okay. So this is also a debate that is fomenting, and
But
people.
doctor, I
so,
think it requires a very hard effort from the side of the teacher to do both.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have English teachers or French teachers or Arabic teachers for that matter. We're going to be out of work if
Yes.
we kind of implement that approach, right?
Inshallah, it needs
Because we're English
specialized
teachers.
instructional
You need to go and
techniques
have
to support
a
it.
bachelor's in computers or science or IT, right?
We need
Yeah.
to study
I
the
think,
subject
doctor,
before.
Yeah, Noor.
Hello, doctor.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. Actually, this is a very interesting topic. I just wanted to drop my opinion about that. You don't need to, to have a BA or something in computer. However, you can study this. For example, I have shifted my career from the bachelor degree in the master's and PhD degree by just drifting into AI. And this requires me to study the basics and elements of algorithm and computer science and so on. So I think studying linguistics deeply can help teachers teach this kind of English. We have forensic linguistics, we have, for example, computational linguistics. So it just needs the teachers to be updated, by reading things. So I think reading is the key right here. Yes, it requires effort, but it's doable, you know?
Yeah, perhaps this is something that people, when people go to training colleges and faculties of educations, they should receive this kind of blended kind of education, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't focus on the theories of language and relationships with the learner, his or her psychology, and full stop. You add a bit of science, a bit of technology, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
this
you
is
can
very
do it in
interesting. Yeah.
linguistics. Yes,
Ah,
linguistics is like, a very interesting, and it's a wide topic. So it depends on your preferences, and then you can study this branch of linguistics, whether it's, for example, it's psychology, it's, for example, forensic, it's computational. So it depends, but it's doable in linguistics, because there are joint theories between these two, between
but
linguistics.
there is more to CLIL than just linguistics, because we're talking about medicine, we're talking about
Yes,
business, right?
there is. Yes,
Mm.
even there is neurolinguistics. For example, for example, my colleagues, they were studying neurolinguistics in their master's degree, and they are graduated from, for example, just like me, simultaneous interpretation, translation, linguistics. So it just needs the courage to move from for example, the typical applied linguistics to another branch.
Okay, but obviously you start a little earlier than that. I mean, you can't have this midstream, if you like. If you have finished a degree and you're in for teaching, and then the sands are shifting under your feet. I think sometimes it's overwhelming, right? That's why
Yes,
we
it is.
wouldn't implement this client thing, right?
Yes.
It would leave lots of people jobless, out of work, right?
Yeah,
Let's move.
to a
Yeah,
certain degree, yeah.
yeah. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
Okay.
What did I do? Okay, so the third topic would be English as a global or international language, the good and the bad. So no two people here would kind of dispute the fact that English is our modern day lingua franca, link language, if you like, right? But and of course you're familiar with the fact that the number of native speakers, I'm talking about English native speakers, to the number who are non-natives. I mean, obviously non-native speakers who speak English are way more than native speakers. Then why bother learning or speaking English the way the minority, the native speakers here, speak it? Why bother, right? Why wouldn't we have an international language that would cater to the needs of the majority? And the majority are non-native speakers. What do you think about this controversy, this kind of debate that we're having? So, English as a global language. So, how should it look like? How should it sound? Given the fact that the majority of the speakers are non-native speakers, like me and you, people in, in India, people in Japan, and
Really, I think it has a relation to language and power. I think because of power of the people who speak English, that started about 100 years ago. USA, America, England, and so on. So they dominated. Really, I think they dominated the world with their inventions, with everything, and so. It started to be global language since early, I think about
No, I'm
And
saying I'm not undermining the fact that English is a global language. I'm talking about teaching English as a global language and whatever that means, whatever that uh, um, kind of evoke and conjure up in our minds, whatever tools we can have, whatever priorities. So what should we prioritize when it comes to teaching English as a global language, given the fact that uh, native speakers are a minority, not a majority. So what do people do? I mean, because as we speak, we have people who teach English as a global language. What are their priorities? Yeah, Maliha.
Um, we are talking about English as a lingua franca or a global language because now it's well established. Why we teach English everywhere in the world in every country? Because that most of the
No,
knowledge is available in English,
no, that this
books
is
are
not
available
my
in English.
question. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
guys, I'm starting an argument, and I'm saying that let's look at who speak English in the world, and let's count the numbers, and we came to a conclusion that the original native speakers in America, in Great Britain, Australia, those are minorities. When you compare them
Yeah,
to
yeah,
only one single country like
exactly.
India, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying that it is a global language in this sense. And now we have a trend that people are kind of subscribing to and working accordingly. And they have a methodology and a way of looking at language, and they call it English as a global language or as an international language. I am talking about the classroom implications of this trend. What do people do in classes where English is a global language that people in mainstream English classes do not do? This is my question. What do they prioritize, and what is it that they kind of let go or leave behind? This is my question.
I
Yeah,
think that
no.
they focus on communication because
Okay.
they're
Mm-hmm.
using the English as, as a medium of communication between people. So
Mm-hmm.
this is why we have to focus on how we can communicate effectively, and how we have also to, embrace diversity, because you're dealing with people from different nationalities with different cultural contexts, for example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
embracing diversity is also very important in this context right here.
Do I have to pronounce? I mean, if I'm teaching my students English as a global language, do I have to stick to the pronunciation, the received pronunciation of
Not
London
really.
or the
No,
Uh,
right?
no.
Do I
Actually,
have? Yeah. Yes. Go
if
ahead.
it hinders communication, you can comment on it. But just if you
I don't.
you
I,
do
I
it
don't need it. If two um, two people, one from Egypt and one from India,
yeah.
are speaking to each other in English. Should they really bother about perhaps how to pronounce certain words, how to use the th
Not really.
sound,
No, because their
right?
No.
dialects will
Hmm.
dominate here. So the dialect will
Right?
dominate. You do not need, yes, you do not need accurate,
Yes.
pronunciation to each single word. Yeah.
Okay. So
So
this is
now,
what we call
doctor,
the phon. And by the way, they call it the phonological core. If you're familiar with this expression.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. Go ahead, Yamili.
So now, yeah, the thing is, in my research, which I conducted in my university in London, the basic thing which we found out, because it was on pronunciation instruction. So we just noticed that the people who go abroad and they start, living there and working there, and they just try to imitate them and try to get the accent, even then they have a different, slightly different accent. So the thing is, this to acquiring accent is not important. Nowadays, there are many different accents in the whole world. For instance, this in Indian accent and Australian accent, and there are many others. People speak,
Yeah, they call them English
yeah,
varieties, English varieties,
exactly.
okay? And
So
those
as long
English
as
varieties are all
yes,
respected all over the world.
so
If you walk into any IELTS exam, so you're likely to get tested on one of those varieties. It doesn't have to be
yes,
standard English,
exactly.
right?
Yes, so
Yeah,
as
good.
long as you are
Mm,
comprehensible and
mm,
the other can understand what you're saying, your
mm,
communication is, you are communicating what you want to say, so that is enough.
mm,
So you don't look, you don't want, you should not speak like the native speakers or in some
mhm.
accent. So as long as the other can understand what you're saying, it's enough.
And this is also going to lower your affective filter if you see what I mean. People who studied Christian, and he spoke about this idea of raising learners' morale and I mean lowering their affective filters. And people feel frustrated. How can I emulate and copy this native speaker? I can never do it, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
if it's global English that you are targeting, obviously you don't normally bother yourself with how. I mean, even the idea of accuracy and standards of accuracy are going to shift, right? So whatever we consider accurate with standard English wouldn't be the case with English as a global language. By the way, by talking about English as a global language, and that doesn't mean that we're promoting it. What we're doing in our classes is standard English, right? I
yes,
wouldn't like you to go tomorrow or on Sunday and kind of ignore people pronouncing words in the worst of manners. We still use standard English. It's a very nice kind of debate on this. We have people who agree and people who still believe in the purity of language and how pure your pronunciation should be and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah,
in
of course, I agree, Dr. Sam.
in
If you allow me
yeah,
to
yeah.
make a
What?
small, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So good evening, first of all, Dr.
Dave.
Sam. How are you doing,
Mm,
everyone?
hi.
Of course, it adds value if you familiarize your students with different accents.
Hmm.
I think this is very important, actually. But at the same time,
It's a
breaking the
requirement, by the way.
pronunciation,
It's a
it
requirement.
is,
Mm,
definitely it is. Yeah. But sometimes if you break the pronunciation, I mean like wrong pronunciation, this is of course not going to take the students anywhere. It's going to confuse them because they are going to hear something in classroom and they will hear something else when they listen to, let's say, authentic conversation somewhere else.
Yeah,
So it's
let's agree.
better.
I mean, obviously, it's going to will take time to agree on this idea of authenticity because, again, the definitions are now shifting. It depends on your perspective. So whatever you consider now authentic, I may not consider authentic, right? Because we're talking about
Yeah,
English
but when I
varieties,
say
different
when I say
varieties, right?
authentic,
Hmm.
different varieties.
You mean
That
standard,
definitely, yes,
right?
that's right.
So standard,
The standard,
right?
yes, the standard,
Your
yes.
standard according to whom? According to the majority who are non-native speakers, or to the minority who are native speakers?
To the minority because it's their
Yeah.
mother tongue. Yes.
As it stands
Uh,
now, I mean, it depends on
we
on
have,
what kind of approach you're adopting, and the school policy and the government policy and everything in between. Yeah, go ahead. But
yeah. But
as it
what I'm
stands
trying
now,
to
it's
say, Dr.
standard. Mm,
Exactly, yes. And what I'm trying to say is that we as teachers should get ourselves as close as possible to standard language, to native-like language, accents, let's say. So if it's possible for a teacher to get very close to those minorities, those where English is their mother tongue, that would be much better. If it's difficult for you to do it, then it's not a big deal. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't deliver wrong pronunciation to your students, because I think this is
No,
very
it's
dangerous.
not.
And
Nobody does it in a deliberate way. It's more philosophical and more political, right? Again, it depends on where you stand, where your policymakers stand. Of course, we're not free to walk into class and apply this philosophy. We believe in global English. Let's overlook and ignore this. And no, I'm just talking about one of the issues that the ELT world is grappling with as we speak. Let's
well,
move
as
on. This is,
university
yeah.
students, just last one point, Mr. Dr. Sameh. As university students, we studied phonetics, and this is a very strict science, actually. So changing the sounds, I think this is not a good thing for me as a teacher
No,
to do in my classroom.
you're not changing them. You're adapting them. There is adapting because of I'm saying that life changes, and whoever was on the majority side is now a minority. I mean, it's about adapting, accommodating things. Again, let me put this disclaimer: I'm not promoting global English. We're just talking about a debate that is fomenting, and people are, engaged in as we speak. Let's move on. Lana, it's very interesting, and it may take the rest of our lives. Uh, let's move on. So this is number 3, right? What is 4? Using first language, or L1, which is obviously something that we spoke about last time. I don't mind if we spend like 2 to 3 minutes talking about it more. So using L1 in class, I think I shared something with you about that, one of the small articles that I wrote. And I'm sure you have done enough research on that. What did we say about using the first language, which means we're talking about a homogeneous class. We're assuming that we
We
have a
said it's
homogeneous
not a
class.
sin.
Yeah. Yes, we said that it's not a sin against the Holy Spirit, if you like. Let's expand on this idea. Yeah. Yeah. Maisa, you were saying something. Can you
Yes,
elaborate? Yeah.
I usually minimize the use of Arabic in my classes, but
Mhm.
if it is my last choice, I would
Mm.
allow, but not to
Mm.
make it clear for students that this is okay in my class to speak Arabic. But it would be a
Uh-huh.
last choice.
It's a last resort, right? You don't do
Yeah.
it unless you have exhausted all the other means and tools, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Okay, let's move to Maliha.
What I think is, for instance, if I am having a communication skills class and I'm trying to improve the English language skills of the students, so I would try my best to let students speak only in the target language, and I will also speak and explain and do everything in English. But if, for instance, if it is a literature course or a linguistics course or a prose course, and there are high level students, and we are discussing something, and then I have to explain something, or it's like concept based. So sometimes, yes, we can use L1 as well to explain something if need be, or we can
Mm.
use our own language in the class, whether it be Arabic or my language, Urdu, or any other languages.
Mm.
So, but mostly I think if it is a language skills class, if we are improving their English language, then it should be only English.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my point of view.
Yeah, that's very clear. Can we have other people join the
Uh,
conversation?
uh, Really, for me, I sometimes use Arabic as a refreshment for students. So I give a translation of some English words and give them equivalents in Saudi words. What are the equivalents, or what is the equivalence of this
As
word?
a game, yeah, a
Yes,
momentary
like
game, you're kind
yes.
of you're
Yes,
doing something, يعني, or you're doing English all the time, and as a diversion, you start a game where the native language is involved. This is what you're trying
yeah,
to say?
yes, exactly. Important
Mm,
attending and just who can guess? For
mm,
example, determined. The word determined.
mm.
What what can you translate it in Saudi Arabia? What is it? I need مصمم. Okay, what do you call it in Saudi Arabia? Yeah, I think its equivalence is they say صامل. They have a word
Yeah,
يصمل
yeah.
صامل, determined
Mm,
صامل.
mm,
Intrusive. The word intrusive, for example, they have a word for it in Saudi Arabia. That's they say ملقوف.
mm.
That's something
Yeah,
like
it's
so.
about winning their hearts and minds so that you can take it to the next level and resume your English, your
Yes,
purely English class, right? So,
yes, exactly.
yeah, nice. That's
And they
one
enjoy
way
it.
of doing it. Again, I
Yes,
think in my article I spoke about using it for procedural issues. If you're trying to make sure that they understand that the quiz is on this or that day, on this or that platform, right? Yeah.
yes, but
Anybody? Yeah.
before it, we can, I think, for this procedural,
Uh,
we can use ICQs, instruction, chicken concepts,
Yeah,
questions,
but
instruction,
obviously
chicken
procedures are not, when we talk about concepts, when we talk about ICQs,
instructions,
we talk about,
yes.
language concepts, not procedural concepts.
We
Uh,
have CCQs and ICQs, concept chicken questions, and
yeah, I know,
instruction
and again,
chicken.
I know. What I'm trying to say is, we're talking about the different possibilities where the native language can be utilized without affecting the whole English atmosphere that we're trying to build. Obviously,
Yeah,
English classes are
yes,
English only zones, if you like, where English should be promoted and encouraged at all times. Yeah, that's
yes,
very interesting. Yeah.
yes.
Again, you guys have what I said about that in my article, and you can do your own research. Let's move on because we have already spoken about it a number of times. Let's move to five, and five is about teacher talking time. And this is also a very tricky issue. Lots of people are talking about it. And yeah, so teacher talking time, whether it's English or Arabic, I don't know where you stand when it comes to teacher talk and proportion if you're talking about teacher talk and student talk. Yeah, Maria.
Well, for us as a teacher, it's quite difficult to speak less and make students speak more. When we have to encourage students, when we have to request them again and again to speak and do activities and come up with the answers. But the thing is, I have done a conscious effort in the past many years that I will speak less and I will facilitate and I will manage the
Mm,
class, because as an English teacher, and for instance if you're teaching English subjects, communication skills subjects, or maybe academic English subjects, so we need to facilitate, we need to manage the class, we need to let students do more, they speak more, and we should speak less. Though it's
yeah,
still, I have noticed it's difficult when you are teaching English as second language or foreign language, because students are not very willing to speak, and not all students participate. So eventually we have to speak, we have to,
yeah.
but
We're not saying that people should be silent or
yeah,
no.
but
It's not
there
about
should
that.
be a
It's about
less
the
talking time.
It's about the again. You like you said, a teacher should facilitate rather than dictate, right?
Exactly,
You
yes.
don't turn the class into you're not standing on a pulpit and you're giving a Jum'ah sermon where
Exactly.
you're right,
Yes.
you're talking all the time. and you're monopolizing the talk and monopolizing the mic if you're doing an online class, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about this proportionality.
Exactly.
It's about knowing that there are techniques and strategies that can spare this idea of talking all the time. Perhaps you talk all the time because perhaps you're not trained to utilize tools and strategies. Let's hear from other people. Noor?
Yes, doctor. I
Mm,
support reducing teacher time talk, because when you listen to the students, you will understand that they know more than we expect, and this might facilitate our work in class, and in turn we can have more time to do activities, to do something else. So at the beginning I was talking, to be honest, too much time. However, when I adopted new techniques in the last couple of weeks, I felt like the students know a lot of things and they need space to express themselves and they need to reflect on their knowledge. So yeah, this is the point I just want to add. You will be actually amazed by how the students know about a lot of topics, about a lot of things, especially after COVID-19. They are prone to, a lot of ideas, a lot of topics. So students now are different, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, so yeah, I support to reducing teacher time check.
Yeah, it's again, like I said, if it's perhaps people are not trained and they don't utilize means and tools. I mean, if you're familiar with elicitation, so it's about prompting. You drop something and you ask the student to kind of react, and if you train them to react, they will react. Um,
Yeah,
what
just
else? Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
would
yeah.
like to say it is
Mm,
really actually challenging. The TTT is one of the big challenges that teachers face. But exploiting the tools that you have, like breakout rooms, for example, group work, and other things, elicitation is also one of the means that if teachers use, will find themselves reducing the TTT so much. So yeah, exploiting the tools that you have. But if you have a low-level student, this is actually is going to be a bit more challenging, because even if you move them to breakout rooms, they will be silent. So you have to keep pushing them to speak to each other, try to get engaged, and so on and so forth. TTT is a big challenge, to be honest.
yeah, it's a big challenge if perhaps it's a perception. I mean, yeah, it needs, of course, practice, and the more you practice, the better you will be at it. Again, it's it would take training and would take planning. And part of the planning is how to organize those breakout rooms, and you normally diversify the group, making sure that they have a leader inside, somebody who can prompt them to speak. You don't have to kind of do everything. Part of the challenge is that you're trying to do everything, but you end up, instead of even putting them in breakout rooms, and you consider it kind of something that don't normally work. You focus on this plenary approach where you are a sermon giver or a preacher on a pulpit, saying everything, monopolizing the talk. This is easy, right? Again, it takes practice. It takes also raising students' awareness about the importance of them reacting and speaking. Again, giving them more opportunities to be with each other, using the language, giving them the language. Before you ask them to speak, you need to prepare them through controlled practice exercises so that they can have the language that they can speak with. So it's about priorities. It's about setting the priorities right, and everything. Again, this is also a very interesting topic. People are all talking about it. And again, it's like Ahmed is saying, it's easier said than done. It takes time, it takes sincere efforts, but normally it works at the end. This is interesting. Again, perhaps there is this added challenge of online classes where you cannot see all the students, where you cannot fixate them in the eye so that they know that they want you you want them to speak. Again, it's a lot of issues, and I think good planning. If you have a good, robust lesson planning, and the lesson planning can cater for all those needs, and it can meet all those challenges. Okay, let's move on to another issue. Where did we stop? Um, let's move to 6, teaching grammar. And whether you teach it inductively or deductively, this is also something that people are debating. So um, people even carry it to extremes and say that we shouldn't teach grammar in the first place. And by not teaching grammar, they mean that we should be targeting fluency rather than accuracy. So accuracy or grammar is normally associated with accuracy. So where do you stand with this? Grammar. Do you believe that we should teach grammar? This is my first question. And the second question is, how should we teach it? Should we teach it inductively or deductively? Yeah.
Yes, doctor, I think
Yeah.
it's very important to teach a grammar because it provides the structure of the language.
Yes.
How can they make a sentence without knowing the grammatical rules of the language?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
of
it's
course,
the cement. You mean that it's the cement of the sentence. Otherwise, the words are going to be loose, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You cement
But of course,
the
it
different
depends
elements.
on
Yeah. Okay. Go on. Yes.
Of course, it depends on the learner's needs, and if we are, how we teach it. It depends whether
Depends on the
inductively
aims, right? On the
on the aims,
objectives
right?
of the lesson, right? Whether you're prioritizing, accuracy
Proficiency or accuracy.
or fluency. Yes.
Fluency or accuracy, yes.
Yes. Okay. Nice. Okay, Maliha.
Uh, I believe that it should be always inductive because I believe in the social development theory. I don't know if I'm mixing up things or what, but I think that the language should be learned in a more natural way as a child learn to speak its mother tongue. So I think that it should be inductive and we should have a lot of practice and reinforcement by practicing it in the sentences, by listening to it, by doing it through exercises. So that's what I think, that it should be,
And of course, by inductive, you mean that you try to expose them to perhaps
exactly.
authentic material.
Yes,
You don't, at this early stage, you expose them to the stuff.
yes,
And
exactly.
then afterwards, you talk about the rules, right? It's not the other
Yes,
way around. You
yes.
don't
Or
start
it's
with the
like it can
rules.
be side by side. We can start
Mm,
by just giving
mm,
exposure, and later it
mhm,
can be side by side.
mm,
That first you introduce something, you discuss it, you do it, and then
mm.
you introduce the rules, maybe, or maybe ask them to find out, to identify, then come up with it, and then maybe there can be a discussion in the class that this is the rules, and we can do that, and this rule is used for so and so. So
After you have introduced them to authentic material, they have
exactly.
seen. Yeah, okay. Let's have other people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Saleh,
again,
I think
yeah.
mixing both methods is very
But
effective.
how? If you're starting a class and you have a
Like, yeah,
grammar
just like the
class.
book. In our
Mm,
book, for example, you find
mm,
the grammar is embedded in one of the texts, and then you find it in the grammar focus. So when it's in the grammar focus, you actually teach it explicitly. When it's
I mean, are
in
you
the
implying
text,
that when you see them in front of your eyes, you believe that the author of the book wants you to teach them in a parallel way? You don't
yeah,
prioritize one way
this is
over
what
the
I
other?
understood from the style of the book.
I
Yes,
did.
this is what I
So,
understood from the style
did
of
you
the book.
read the teacher's book? This is why teacher's books are very important, right?
I haven't read it.
I'm saying that, I mean, it's all over, I mean, the world, that people are using the inductive method, which means that you give them a guided discovery exercise. You don't assume that they don't know the rule, and then you start giving them. That can be very insulting, by the way.
No,
If
you
you
kind of try to elicit the rule from the students. This is what you do in the beginning before you move on to
why
teach
would
them
you give
explicit.
why would you even give them the feeling that you're going to teach grammar?
I don't do that in the beginning. As I
Yeah.
said, it's like I focus on the text. I try to find the language embedded in the text, and I try to elicit that language from the students. This is what I do first.
Yeah, this
And
is
then I
inductive.
move to, yes, this is inductive. And then I move to the explicit, way of explaining the grammar in the text. So this is
You
it's
may,
always
I
the
mean,
second step.
sometimes you wouldn't even need that if you believe that they all know now they were not obviously born yesterday. They come with English with them. English is obviously all over the place, right? So sometimes you
Yeah, but
don't even need to give if you feel that they know it, if you have kind of introduced them to the different stages, after you have exposed them to the material and they did fine, and then you start testing waters by giving them a controlled practice exercise, and then you
yes,
leave them on their own. You don't need
there will
to
not be any need
again,
for the
yeah,
detectives.
right? Yes.
Yes, that's
Again,
exactly the
yeah,
point.
that's very good. Shukran, Dr. Ahmed. Can we have other people comment on that? And then,
I would like to add something, Doctor, is
yeah,
that
yeah.
our students are grammar-driven students. They are always anxious about grammar because they know
Do they
that
set the tone? Do they set the tone? Should they set the tone? Should they set their own priorities? So why? So if
that's
this
the
is the
fact.
case, I
Yeah,
mean, they go and learn on their own, and they wouldn't need a teacher then, right? So you run the show,
I don't
okay?
agree
You
with
know,
this. They need a teacher for this purpose, especially. They need a teacher. Uh, I forgot what I was
I mean,
going
you need
to
to,
say.
yeah, you're talking about the fact that they have a grammar mindset. They are all bent
Because they know
on grammar.
half of the exam questions, or let's say like half of the exam questions are about grammar. This makes them
Okay.
anxious.
Okay. So what should we do? Should we again
We have to make a balance between.
appease and please them?
Yeah, I think
No.
so. We should make a
We
balance, or
should.
create a balance.
We set
Teaching
the tone.
grammar.
We set the tone. If we have our objectives, and you're right, if we know why we're there, we have our priorities, they shouldn't set the tone for us, right? Oh, okay, let's have Noor.
Yes, doctor. As you said, the students are knowledgeable enough about grammar. They understand the basics. However, I find that I have to focus on the logic of grammar, how we can use it, for example, to organize the events, to make sense of the sequence of actions in our lives. And I believe that, as you said, having authentic material is really very, very important. So for example, in unit 2, which was about telling stories and writing stories, for example, I prepared a scene from a movie to teach the past simple tense in comparison with the past continuous, how we can use, for example, the past continuous to express the background events, and for example, use the past simple tense to express the main events of the story. So now they're shifting from this tense to that tense based on logic, organizing the events. The same idea, for example, I applied it on a timeline if I want to teach present perfect to say, how can I shift from the present simple tense to the present perfect, and how we can, for example,
Again,
differentiate
what
it.
you're saying is fine and well, but when do you do that? When you do that, when you think that they need grammar, and this is something that you do after you have made sure that they they need it. Again, I mean, our style would be that you start with exposing them to material and you make sure that they understand it, and then comes the rule. This is what we're talking about,
Yeah,
prioritizing it.
actually, I
Well,
don't
yeah.
have even a problem with starting with a rule if it suits the students. However, what I say right here is
How does it suit the student?
sometimes, for example, you can inform them about the meaning of the tense, for example. What is the meaning of the past continuous? Why do we use it, for example?
That's
Where we
straight, I
can use
mean,
it?
in this very straightforward, direct way. So
Some,
you're teaching the language or teaching
no,
about the language? This
I'm
is
not
teaching
teaching.
about the language.
Actually, I'm not teaching that way, but I don't see a problem in teaching that in that way. What I do is inductive. I just start with the actions. I start with sentences, with videos, something like communication, like real language, pure language, and then I make sense of the rule. Why do we use these, for example, tenses or these rules right here? So this is what I do. However, I have read a lot of articles stating that there is no problem with teaching deductively. Sometimes it suits the students.
We're not saying that it's bad or something. We're saying
Yeah,
that sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes
yeah,
students, because because the language is now, English is now all over the place, because
yeah,
they come to you, yeah, they were in a certain level and then they are in a new level, and obviously grammar is universal. It doesn't change much, right? So
yes, I
what
agree.
we're asking people to do is to kind of check whether they know or not,
Yeah,
to expose them to real stuff away from the rules, and then they gauge the reactions, and based on the reactions they decide. But normally you start in an inductive way, and then you think of whether you're going to keep dealing with it this way for this particular lesson, or perhaps you shift gears and move to the deductive method.
yes,
Again,
and
it's
it
about
isn't in
making
the book, by
sense
the
of the
way.
whole. It's about thinking about it. It's about preparing for it,
Yeah.
right? Hmm.
Yes, totally
Yeah.
agree. This is the approach of the new book, by the way. They assume that the students have the basics and they build upon it. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
start inductively. I think this is one of the methods employed in that book, C21.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I read the teacher's book, so I think they always start with, with the material they provide to the students, and then you can elicit the rules based on their prior knowledge.
Nice, nice, very good. Right, let's move on. Okay, we're done with 6. Let's move to 7, the textbook, which is again related to this idea of grammar, because textbooks are normally known for their focus on language and especially grammar. So the or the course book debate, the pros and cons. What do you think? Let me ask you whether you think you think you would have been better off without a book. You think that you can come up with your own material, and it could have been more genuine. It could have been better. Perhaps you have more experience than those who wrote and developed the book. You don't know what their backgrounds were, what their culture is. What do you think? Are you for having a set book, or you believe that you can develop your own material and you can do a better job with it?
I think I develop my own material and customizing the text according to the level of students. I think it's better, and whether as we spoke about the grammar, whether to start at inductive or deductive, I determine the method according to the level of students, and I always test the students and develop the material accordingly. I prefer this customization, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Can we have other people comment on that? Why do you think there is a need for a textbook, and why do you think we don't have a need for a textbook or a course book? The good and the bad.
I think having a textbook is necessary and helpful, of course. It provides the structure, it covers all language skills, and it is done by experts. Of course, they know what to include or what they include in this textbook according to students' need. But of course, a teacher or a good teacher, I mean, can adapt or can adapt materials to suit students' needs.
Yeah. Okay. Can we have somebody else?
Yes, Dr. Sam.
Yeah, Dr. Hassan. Hi, how are you?
Yes, Alan. I think now there are two extreme ideas about it. The first one is dogma ALT. I think most of you know about it, by Scott Thornby, that no need to use a textbook at all.
Yeah.
And the other extreme, that we have to follow the textbook as it is.
Very religiously.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think we have to be in between. We should not go to dogma LT, or what is pronounced, I don't know exactly, by Scott Thornby, or follow the textbooks as a holy books. So I think as we do now in the Arab Open University, we have a textbook, and during teaching we can focus on some points we can skip, we can modify, I mean adopt as we I think. So we have to be in between, I think. So this is the idea, I think. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Very insightful. Let's talk about it from the perspective of students. What do you think students will think, or what kind of feelings would they have if there is no textbook? Are they used to that?
They are not used to that, and they will think things are loose. They are not committed to the subject, I think.
Yeah, like you said earlier, Maisa, a textbook gives a structure. It has a clear vision. It has a roadmap. You can always tell from the first page, from the table of contents, what the trajectory of the course is. This is something that no matter how hard you try as an individual, you wouldn't do. Again, when you have a textbook, it's very institutional. It would have taken time for people to think about it, to brainstorm, to have focus groups from the school that the textbook is targeting, right? But a lot of efforts was or has been put into it, right? It's not random. Um, Again, look at the idea of homework, for example. You know, students are also at this stage are you wouldn't convince them with those abstract ideas about you developing you know their needs and you're catering to to those needs. You know better. I mean, they wouldn't understand that. They need something concrete to come to school with and to go from school with. Something to reflect on, something to scribble on while you are explaining something, right? This is all lost and missed if you don't have a textbook. And remember what we said about one of the pillars of teaching would be your relationship with your learner, right? And this is a very important aspect. If he or she has something concrete in his or I mean, this is actually a recurring complaint. As a coordinator, I receive so many emails about people still confused whether this is a soft copy, there is a hard copy for the, and they are not even convinced. They don't consider the soft copies that they have real books. Again, it's a mindset, and it's a mindset that you're not likely to change. It would take time, right? So part of it would be to perhaps appease and please them by having a book.
Most of my students, Doctor,
Hmm.
print their books
Yeah.
to have a PDF.
Yeah,
Papers in
because
their hands.
it's a learning style that they are trained
I think
in or with. They have been dealing with hard copies for years and years, and you cannot change that in a year or two. It takes
yes.
time, right?
I think
Again,
it makes them
yeah,
more secured. I am myself lost
yes,
when I read it from the
yes.
screen.
Again, one of the problems that we may have is this lack of consistency. Yeah, you start off very enthusiastic about the material as a teacher, but life gets in the way, like they say. You start in the first 2 units, excellent PowerPoint presentations, and you go out of your way and you bring stuff from here and there, and they are excellent. But look at the third and the fourth and the eighth week. Yeah, I mean, even when we ask the teacher is no longer there, he or she for that matter. So it's again about
Right.
consistency. It's about losing. Uh, um, sometimes your enthusiasm gets damned for whatever reason. But with textbooks, I mean, it's an institutional. It's something that the school or the university commission, and obviously you have a group of people doing it. You have an editorial board, and again, I'm not promoting any. I mean, it's we're just discussing the two views. Um, again, perhaps for textbooks to be good, they have to be updated all the time because sometimes you have this outdatedness to them. They can feature articles about the Olympics in the 50s, and we are in the late 20th century, for example. The pictures can be old of old, athletes. So it has to be updated. It has to be kind of reconsidered. It should kind of be, cultural sensitive. Sometimes these things are missing in textbooks. So again, we're not saying that textbooks are the best, and we're not saying that they are also or they are bad either. If we can maintain the, I always say this. I always say that no textbook is perfect. That's why you would need to go out of your way and develop slides and use your own authentic material that even reflects your own culture, right? That's an interesting debate that we're having. This is what, seven? Let's move to the last item, which is teaching online, and this is what we're grappling with on a daily basis in our teaching practice. Teaching online. Now that we've been teaching online for the past, let's say, 4 years, what do you think of the experience? I'm not going to talk about it myself. I don't want to influence you. So what do you think as online teachers? You've been teaching online for quite some time. Are you now, or did you come to the grips of it? You think that you're better off than you were 2 or 3 years ago? Do you still think that you need more to do more? Are you dealing with the online class the way you're dealing with your face-to-face class? Yeah, tell me about it. Do you believe that they are two different things?
I think it has become a fact in our lives to teach online. Although it's challenging, but it's a fact that we have to be flexible and to adapt our selves to this kind of teaching.
Yeah. Okay. And what are we doing? Because it's now a fact of life. It's the new normal, like they call it. Are we aware of the fact that teaching online is totally different from teaching face to face? Are we using, different methodologies for each? What are we doing? Are we happy with our performance so far? Do you think we need more? Yeah. Yeah, Maliha, you were raising your hand.
Yes, I think both have the pros and cons. For instance, if I talk about online teaching, so I really like it. It's convenient, it saves my traveling time, and it's very convenient that I just share my screen, I'd send my students to the breakout rooms, and it's just the same. But the problem is sometimes, which I face, is that the students, they just enter the class, but you keep asking questions and they don't reply. And sometimes it seems that you are just talking to your laptop screen and there is no soul in it. There is, nobody there. So, but the positive points of face-to-face class is that you can look into the eyes of your students. For instance,
Mhm.
if you feel that they are not doing the work or the activity you assigned to them, or the pair work or the group work, so you can just take rounds. You can monitor
Mhm.
the students. You can go close to them and talk to them, ask questions from them. And when they are in the class and you are face to face, so they have to give answers, they have to participate. So the biggest challenge which I am facing is that sometimes I really feel at loss when I ask questions or when I give activities or exercises and I feel that there is nobody speaking. So that is a moment you know, which is a challenge for me. And it like, I really want to know how to deal with it. So otherwise,
Yeah.
I really like online classes.
Well, you said it at the end, the fact that you're looking for a solution, but obviously, I think we all are locked in this idea of looking for solutions. But obviously, the looking has been long, way overdue. I mean, we've been looking for. I never entered into a class and I found the experience interesting or rewarding, and I'm talking about online classes. So obviously, we are all locked in this idea of searching, but when will we stop searching and have real solutions? This is the big challenge. Um, Obviously, it may be convenient for us, and obviously it is for most of us, but it may not be convenient for students. Again, the mindset is the mindset of face-to-face classes.
Dr.
Again,
Sam, I totally agree with Miss Maliha. Yeah, sometimes I think our physical presence in our classroom is very important because we don't only convey messages through our voices, but we also use our
Why
body
aren't you?
language.
I mean, yeah, and it's not the responsibility of the student that you're keeping yourself hidden. You're not using the cam. I mean, using the cam can
Even
bridge
if
this gap.
even if you use the camera, sometimes your body as well needs to deliver some messages to the students. I find
No,
it
no, no.
very challenging to do it online, but the physical presence is definitely stronger and more effective than the online presence at
No,
the end of the
I
day.
think I don't know. Perhaps we all have this mindset because we all come from this old school of attending face to face. Obviously, online is a new thing. I mean, however old it has become, we're talking about 4 or 5 years now. I think we're not doing enough. I
Yeah.
think we're transferring the methodologies of face-to-face to online class. There isn't a lot of genuine research on how to approach online classes. It's all about satisfaction, and our students are happy, and I mean, they are not happy. They are not happy at all. Like you said,
I
they,
also
uh, yeah, go ahead.
I also believe that, for instance, it's like, about responsibility. For instance, right now we are having this online session, and even our cameras are not open. But it's all about responsibility because, if we are attending it, we are listening to it, we are participating in it, and it's our responsibility to just make it successful and to learn from it. So you see, it should be somehow inculcated in the students, and by hook or by crook, because when I see that they are not participating, so I start telling them that, students, keep in mind that you have the participation marks and you are going to lose it. So sometimes you have to give, such type of threats as well, just to make them participate. But I feel that there should be something, and we need to do this research, that how to make people responsible, that to make a good use of their time. Because, when they don't participate, they don't learn, they don't understand things, and later on they ask from the teacher and from here and there, and they lose marks. So there
It's about
should be
consistency.
something.
I mean, you may
Yeah,
be pushing them, but other people are
and
not pushing them. It's about consistency and the practices. So within the self same college or university or school, you have people who are trying very hard, and you have people who are taking it very lightly. Whether students speak or not, it doesn't really matter. Whether I open the cam or I don't, I mean, it doesn't really matter. So it's about this uniform kind of effort that we're all noticing is missing. Again, it's all the research that I read, and I claim that I read a lot, is not geared towards finding genuine solutions. And it's all I don't know. I'm a researcher myself. I don't want to undermine the good efforts of people, of course. But again, this is a gap that should be filled because online teaching and online learning came to stay, and then I can even venture saying that perhaps in 10 years' time we wouldn't have face-to-face classes. So people should be prepared, if not for the students, for themselves. You will be out of the profession if you're not convincing enough in online classes. I think Alina wanted to say something. Go ahead,
Just
Alina.
okay.
Yes. I was thinking about making smaller classes because if you have to focus on 20 students, it would be very difficult to make all of them speak, even if you have the best intentions. But if there is a smaller class of, let's say, 10 or less than 10 students, I'm thinking about this kind of solution, and not all the classes being online. I mean, at the beginning, or some of the classes should be face-to-face, so the students would have a kind of a rapport with their teacher, like they should know the teacher, they should know when she or he changes his voice, that he means this, is upset, or he is trying to encourage them to speak, or he's trying, I mean, not everything should be online, and the groups should be smaller.
Yeah.
That's all that I thought about.
Yeah. Thank you. Of course, we have, yeah, sometimes it's, this is not very realistic, having 5 or 10.
Yeah, not realistic
Yes.
for university,
Yes.
but
Yes. We
I
have
guess
thousands of students, and
it will move
I
towards
think, I mean, that this is where teachers' resourcefulness comes in. Again, if you're confronted with challenges like you cannot reduce the number, you're not a decision maker or a policy maker, you need, as a teacher who is kind of committed and wants to survive, I think we need to kind of go out of our ways and think of things that can make us survive the whole experience. I mean, it's also very boring and very monotonous walking into a class where you are, it's like an echo chamber, if you like, where you're saying everything and nobody's answering. You monopolize the talk because you don't have any other means. I mean, people are not reacting or responding. It can be very boring. It can be even heartbreaking. Over time, you will feel frustrated and you will have, negative thoughts about, and thinking of a career shift and stuff like that. Yeah, Noor Salim, go ahead.
Yes, doctor. Actually, the success of online classes always depend on the group of the students. This is why I believe that your encouragement to gather, or to collect the learner's profile is very important, because it helps me, it helps me focus on what I have to plan in that class. For example, the students I teach in the morning are different from the students I teach in the evening, because maybe they are at work, maybe they are not available to, for example, to turn on their mics and communicate with me with, for example, just to be engaging in class. So understanding the student's circumstances are very important, and learner's profile plays a very important role in understanding them. And also planning, as you always encourage us to plan, because you might need a lot of techniques to win the online class, or to grab the students' attention. You are dealing with people you are not seeing, you are not following up what they are doing at the moment. This is why you should be at some point unexpected, not monotonous, not repeating the same routine over and over. It's overwhelming and it's tiring, but as you said, it's a fact. So we have to deal with it as it is. We have to exert effort and uh, understanding the students. It's very, very important to have a good online class, to be honest. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Thank you so much. Okay,
Doctor, I
let's
would
move
like to
on.
reply.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would like to reply to
yeah.
what Noor have just said. Sometimes you plan carefully, and sometimes you prepare your techniques and your materials well, and you think that this is a very interesting topic, and then only 3 or 4 only participate with you. So this is a challenge also.
But you cannot force them.
Of course,
You do your
we
best.
don't
Yeah,
force them to
you
speak.
do
We
your best.
motivate them to speak.
Yeah. Maybe you know, we have to accept that they don't have suitable circumstances all the time. So sometimes they will engage and sometimes they will be silent, and this is part of their rights. They can keep silent at any moment. You know?
Again, this idea of knowing your student very well through the learner's profiles can help a great
Yes.
deal. At least you
Yes.
can expect that you can, I mean, the idea of frustration can come because you don't know that they, but if you're prepared, if you know that you have the majority of population are people who are perhaps you know, they are shy or timid. Before
Yeah.
you push them to speak, or you have exercises where they should speak, you perhaps work on that vulnerability. You try to uh, you know, encourage them to speak uh, naturally. Perhaps here you can use the native language. And
Yes.
then
Sometimes we
when
need.
you yes, when you have had enough support, they feel that you're kind of encouraging them. You have their their welfare in mind. At heart they can participate. It's about identifying their learning styles. It's about identifying their fears and concerns, and then you build on that. Let's move to something else because we have less than 20 minutes. Okay. So what does common sense say about these issues? So uh, I'll leave this question to next time. I'll do something perhaps more refreshing. Okay, so don't make your students glad twice within the same class or within the same semester, whatever that means. Don't make your students glad twice within the same class and within the same semester. What do I mean by that? Don't make your students glad twice. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with making our students happy? Isn't that what their relationship with the learner is all about? We said that this is one of the pillars of good teaching. Good teaching is about, you know, maintaining this good relationship with the student. So why wouldn't I make them happy or glad? And why is this focus on this idea of twice? What do I mean by that?
Does that mean making them happy
Yeah,
for the whole
glad.
course?
Yeah, look at the statement and try to
The
kind of.
beginning and the end of the course?
Uh-huh. Okay.
You mean focusing on one student being happy or everyone in class? Because if it's one, then the
No, I'm
others
talking about
will
everyone.
make
I'm talking about everyone. So
I
you
think
are in a class. Yeah, go ahead.
I think this means the course was too easy or below their level, perhaps.
Okay. Glad to see you come and glad to see you go. What's the difference? Isn't that contradictory? They are happy to see you come every class, but they are also happy to see you go at the end of the class, at the end of the semester. What
This
made
means
them
it was boring.
wait, what made them happy at the beginning of the class and at the beginning of the semester, and what made them glad also at the end, so that I mean, they are happy that you that they got rid of you.
the
Yeah, go ahead.
beginning of
Yeah.
expectations. They're
Mhm.
happy about this new course
Mhm.
because they have high expectations, and it might not feel at the end of the course that they got rid of the certain program or course. They might feel relieved. It might feel that way also. Glad that is gone because there are other courses that need to be focused on. So probably
Okay, so obviously we're talking about the
different
teacher here,
stress.
right? Your
Not
students.
Not really. I was thinking about the perspective of the student because a student is quite stressed with the other subjects also, not only one subject. So when one subject is gone,
You're
it
dignifying
doesn't
it.
mean
You're
it.
Alina, you're dignifying it. I'm talking about the teacher here. I'm not
Oh,
talking about the course. I'm not talking about
yeah.
the
I was
fact that they
thinking
are
the
overwhelmed with other courses. No.
so it might not be personal every time because we don't have to put it that strict that we are the only teachers that taught these students. They've met many students and
Yeah,
many teachers
and then
also.
obviously instead of kind of thinking of why they, I mean, you need to think of why they were happy when they first saw you, and why somehow down the line you perhaps failed them I don't mean failing in terms of grades. I mean, you have kind of failed them, and they had expectations as how the class would run, and you didn't meet those expectations. They were happy, they were full of hopes, and you didn't turn them around in the language. So, I mean, rather than blaming it on the other courses and how overwhelming the other courses are, let's focus on ourselves. They were happy with us, with our performance at the very beginning, but somehow they lost interest. You somehow alienated them. So what, and I'm talking about why this change of heart upon their part. This is what I'm asking about. Yeah, I think somebody else is raising his or her hand. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I think it might be a problem with the teaching approach that
Mhm.
makes them firstly happy to expect something easy, and at the end they are glad because the boring lesson finishes.
Yeah, a boring lesson would mean a boring teacher because you're the one who deliver the material, right?
Yes, the problem is with the teacher or with the teaching approach itself.
Hmm. Okay. So which of the two feelings should you prioritize? For them to see you come, or for them to see you go?
Go.
Again, I'm asking which of the two feelings
Come.
come, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, right. So how can you secure that? This is how can you secure this? How can you sustain their interest? How can you, what is it that you're going to do so that they don't um, reach this stage where they don't want you around? They are thinking of the moment when the course is over or the class is over. What is it that you think you should do? Let me talk about that. Again, these are the things, that the aspects that you should address if you want them to um, only be glad when they see come. If you want to sustain their interest, and make them happy. And obviously, if they are happy and satisfied, it means that you're doing a good job. So you need to focus on those 4 aspects. Of course, and these are under every and each aspect, you have a lot of things. Giving information, your own language, classroom management, relationship with the learners. I'm not putting them in any particular order. They are all important. So what do we mean by giving information and how we can give information? What do I mean by my language as a teacher? What is classroom management and what does this entail? And what do we mean when we talk about maintaining relationships with the learners? So these are the aspects that we're going to talk about, inshallah, next time. I would like you to expand on those 4 ideas. Try to brainstorm so that when we meet again next time, inshallah, on Saturday, we can elaborate more on them. I think we have like 5 more minutes for last minute reflections. Do you guys have any questions before we call it a night? Obviously, we have another, inshallah, interesting session by Dr. Hassan, starting at 1 o'clock, at 1 a.m. So any last minute thoughts, reflections, ideas? Okay, fine. On this note and with this item, we'll come to the end of tonight's lovely session, and I'll see you on Saturday, inshallah. We'll take like a 10-minute break, and then when we come back, inshallah, we will have Dr. Hassan giving us from his experience about AI and how we can harness the power of AI in learning and in teaching. Yeah. Okay. Noor, you're raising your hand. Noor Ahmed.
Yes, doctor. I just want to thank you, and we really appreciate all your effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noor. Thank you so much. Yalla jama'a, I'll see you at 1 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام.